Hello there, this is Pete Murray speaking, inviting you to a rather special sort of housewarming party. Here with me is my chief guest, Mr. Ron Evans, Shell Technical Services Manager, to tell us the secret of how to save money on our housewarming. But first, we'll have some appropriate music. Well, Ron, I expect lots of people are aware of the government's campaign directed towards saving fuel. They're probably less aware of what they could be doing to save themselves both fuel and money.
Yes, most people have probably now trained themselves to turn off their lights and appliances and so forth when they're not really wanted. But there are other steps that can and should be taken to ensure the maximum benefit from the precious fuel we do consume, without lowering the standards of warmth and comfort we've all come to take for granted.
Well, some of the claims made for fuel waste through lack of proper insulation they're almost incredible. It looks as if we've been living in centrally heated colanders.
That's a good example. The government's independent experts have looked into this matter thoroughly. They reckon that a typical three-bedroom semi, for example, loses heat in various ways. 25% goes out through the roof, 10% through the windows, 15% through the doors and windows in forms of draft, 15% through the floor, but 35% goes out through the walls.
Okay.
A lot of people have installed double glazing, but have ignored the two areas where most of the heat is lost, the roof and the walls.
Right, well, more information from Ron Evans after we've heard this piece of music. I'm talking to Ron Evans, Shell Technical Services Manager. Ron, some of these insulating jobs people can do for themselves, presumably.
Oh yes, lofts and draft sealing around the doors and windows are possibly do-it-yourself tasks. But wall insulation does need experts, and I mean real experts.
Yes, and I suppose that means it's a big and expensive job, huh?
Not really. There are, of course, different techniques of insulating walls, but the one most commonly used for existing homes is cavity wall insulation. Most homes built in the last 50 years have cavity walls. In other words, an outer brick wall and an inner wall with an airspace in between.
Yeah, but hold on a minute, Ron. Isn't the airspace a good enough insulation in itself?
It has been generally, but this greatly improves the insulation properties of the wall, so it enhances the original functions of the cavity. Our operation is done perfectly safely and quickly by drilling holes in the mortar and injecting the insulating material under pressure into the cavity between the inner and the outer walls. The mortar is then repointed.
Is it messy?
No, it's not, surprisingly enough, and the whole process takes less than a day.
Yeah, but that's all right for a plain brick wall, but what happens if the wall is rendered?
Well, the operation is virtually the same, but we use a different technique for making good. But this makes no difference to the cost.
Yeah, what about the cost?
Well, each house is surveyed and quoted separately, and we do this free of charge. Of course, every house is different, and the cost will depend on the area of the walls to be insulated. As an example, a three-bedroom semi would cost about £120.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of money.
Yes, but then today it becomes more and more important what you actually get for your money.
Yeah, that's true enough, Ron. After all, £120 will only get you 1 week's family package holiday or an automatic washing machine.
Exactly, and with cavity wall insulation, we're talking about a long-term investment.
An investment?
Well, that's how we look at it. It will pay for itself through fuel savings in a relatively short period, and will then go on saving fuel year in and year out. And with each rise in fuel prices, so you will save an ever-increasing amount on your fuel bills. What is more, the installation of cavity wall insulation will add to the value of your property, and to our customers, finance is available. Pete, what do you reckon to spend on heating bills?
I don't know, really.
That's a typical answer. It's funny how people who would know to the last penny what they spend on comparatively minor elements of their budget seldom do so on one of their major continuing expenses. Would you reckon it could be $250 a year?
Ooh, easily that, yeah.
Well, cavity wall insulation could save you up to a third of this in the first year.
A third of the cost? That's fantastic. But, and there's always a but, Ron, isn't there a continuing maintenance cost?
No, unlike your example of an automatic washing machine, cavity wall insulation is a once-and-for-all outlay that requires no maintenance.
Well, fair enough, Ron, but how do I know, as I can't see it, that it's been done properly?
Good question, Pete. There are three major safeguards which protect you. Firstly, there's an independent testing authority approved by the government known as the Agrimon Board. All work carried out by us is to the Agrimon standards. with Agrimon-approved materials and Agrimon-tested operators. Safeguard number 2 is the comprehensive guarantee which Shell offer. And safeguard number 3, and I think the best of all, is Shell's reputation for reliability and responsibility.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Ron Evans. Well, listeners, it's obvious that between these walls lies the secret of a certain way of saving you money on fuel bills. Certainly, I reckon it's worth Shell looking at your home and quoting you, particularly as both the survey and quotation are free. It's also no secret that every day you delay could be costing you money in unnecessary fuel bills. So why not let Shell talk to you without obligation? You can contact them by filling in the reply paid card enclosed with this record, or by ringing this telephone number, Windsor 55458. Finally, I hope the next time I speak to you, you'll be enjoying the sort of housewarming where, thanks to Shell, even the fuel bills will have a pleasant reception. Goodbye now.